woman.
Never. Not much has worked lately.
Hmm. Woohoo.
I made a fun countdown. Wasn't that neat?
You did. I noticed that countdown. I rather like that countdown, actually. I'm quite
Well, it
impressed.
came with all the stuff. So yeah. Okay, we're here. Yay!
Yay!
Where is here, you might ask?
Where is here?
We
Tell
are
us.
sitting at the trailer village at Grand Canyon National Park.
Okay, that sounds like fun.
It's the RV park inside of the park.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
Oh
All right.
look, it sent that message again.
Yeah, someday I'm gonna figure out how to take that out before we start. But today is not that day, so now it's gone. Hi all. This is the first time I've gotten to
Yeah,
see
so
Katie in the new year. Hi Katie, I missed you. Are you baking?
we've ventured around all around Grand Canyon today. So
Yeah, you did. Lord have
the
mercy.
South
What'd you think?
Rim, not the North Rim.
Well,
Huh?
I've never been to the South Rim. I've only been to the North Rim. Cool. Very cool.
The North Rim is closed for season and other things.
Oh, I did not know that.
The
Well,
fire last year.
it's been a really long time since I've been to the Grand Canyon. It was before I went to law school, so it's probably coming up on 25 years. I went with my family when my parents were still alive. It was amazing, though. What'd you think?
It was fun.
Eh,
I I think it's fascinating
okay.
that we are fascinated with a
Yeah.
giant ass hole in the ground.
Well, that's a very refreshing perspective.
Uh, That's what it is. It's a
Well,
giant hole in
it's
the ground.
less of a hole than it is a gash. I don't know if that makes that any better.
It's a
Um,
big hole in the ground.
for a big hole in the ground, it would be the Grand Well.
Nope,
Canyons are
it's a big
nope.
hole in the
Okay.
ground.
All right. I can see that you are going to be immovable on this subject, so we'll just leave it
I
there.
really am. I'm Marlin Farms.
Did you think it was pretty?
Yes.
At least, I hope.
What?
Did you think it was pretty? At least, I hope.
Oh yeah, no, it's super pretty. We went
Okay.
to Petrified Forest yesterday,
Okay.
and I thought that was way cooler than
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. More to see. I mean, a lot of what there is to see at the Grand Canyon is down in the big hole.
Did I
Which
walk on the clear? Marlin Farm wants to know if I walked on the clear bridge. No, no, I stayed well away from the edges. There are pictures of me standing next to railings because
did.
I firmly believe that there should be metal railing between me and any large prefaces.
I didn't even know there was a clear bridge. I mean, that makes me feel very Indiana Jones, right? But you remember that in the
No, I'm
last
not
movies
doing that.
where he's trying to get across the, okay, going with Katie's designation, the giant hole in the, I guess, ground, and he scatters the sand and it shows the clear bridge. It's a cool moment. But yeah, you
Oh
wouldn't
yeah, no,
catch
it
me.
sounds really awesome.
It does, yeah.
I am gonna have to agree with Austin though on this one and be like, no,
Okay.
that ain't
Okay.
happening. Not gonna
Not,
happen.
this is not my
Jess
argument with
apparently
you
was
folks.
all about the bridge. I not so much.
You
So
know, with my luck, if I stepped on an invisible bridge, I would become a very visible falling person. So I'm thinking no.
yeah, no, not my jam. So
That's fair.
anyway, it's been a couple weeks since we chatted, but this week
Yes.
we're talking about the Spinner's Book of Yarn
For a
Designs.
change, here's the book we're talking about. Which
Again.
we love this book. There it is.
And then and so when we were at petroglyphs or not petroglyphs at Petrified Forest yesterday, we stopped
Mhm.
at one of the visitor centers and they're remodeling the main
Okay.
one. So it was in one of the old ones
Mhm.
and old buildings there, and it's the Painted Desert Inn or something like that is
Ooh,
what it is.
okay.
This old timey soda fountain inn where you could stay. It used to have apartments and all kinds of stuff. Anyway,
Oh,
and so the visitor center's in there now, but there was a really cool display all about spinning. Specifically with Navajo Charo,
what?
and they had Navajo spindle, and they had some weaving technique stuff, and they had some they have this really nice display of local natural dyes
Yep.
materials.
Yep.
And so like the different things. And so I thought it was really cool. Anyway,
Oh,
so
yeah.
wrapping back around to the spinning part, yeah. So
That's fabulous.
we're still playing with that. And I have been working on my fat singles.
Oh, yay.
I
Look
know
at
they don't
you.
look super fat, but they're fat for me.
Yeah, and that is an important thing, as we often say, you know, spin the yarn you like. And that stuff is relative, right? A fat single for somebody who loves those is going to be very different from a fat single from someone like Katy, whose natural, you know, spin is, what would you call it? A light sport?
It's
A heavy?
no, my natural spin is a heavy cobweb.
Oh, that is not a thing. A heavy cobweb,
It's
oh my gosh.
almost a fingering. When you ply
Yep.
it together,
Okay.
it's a heavy fingering.
Yeah, we're not talking about when you, okay, never mind. My natural spin is not a heavy cobweb. Oh my gosh, heavy cobweb. That really sounds like a band name.
Like, what
I
am I
mean,
supposed to say about that? I don't know. Okay.
nothing.
Also,
Elsa.
on the spinning front,
Yep.
we love our EEW 6.1s from Dreaming
Ooh,
Robots.
yes, we do. Very, very much.
Apparently, Maurice is sold out of them.
Yeah.
Sad day.
So Maurice, for those of you who don't know, is Dreaming Robots, basically.
Is Dreaming Robots.
Yep, he is the dude.
And yeah. So so if you are looking for a wheel, Q and I have them, a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
We both have class obligations where we're
Mm-hmm.
teaching with set wheels in the next few weeks.
Yep.
Once those are over, we will put all of them online.
Yep.
But I would not expect any more 6.1s until at least July.
Yep.
So
if that changes,
sorry guys.
Get on my mailing list, get on Katy's mailing list, Katy Needs mailing list, and we will let folks know as soon as they're back in stock, because we both need that information. But yeah, seriously, serious shortage right now, which is, you know, great, but also not so great, because we like to be able to put wheels in people's hands, and the 6.1 is both of our wheel of choice for so many reasons. So yes, we have a few, and we'll probably be letting at least some of them go in February, but not a lot of them. But between us, we don't have a ton.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of them. So I think I have 14 right now, or 12 or 14 right now total.
Yep.
So which
I have 8.
sounds like a lot, but
it's not.
I've been known to sell that many in a weekend. So it's really not as much as it seems.
Nope.
I'm gonna change our little picture here. No? Yes? Gingerbread. There we go. I like it.
Gingerbread? What about gingerbread?
Our little icon now is a gingerbread guy. Happy holidays thing.
I have gingerbread on the
okay, so this week we've been chatting all about about singles mostly for our book, The Spinner's Book of Yarn, designed by Sarah Anderson. And we've been chatting about thin singles and fat singles. And then last time we talked, which was the week right before Christmas, we chatted about plying.
Bracelet plying.
Yes, I was attached to my wheel for a minute. So bracelet plying, which creates a 2-ply yarn, and it's a technique called end to end, typically. And then, so this week we are chatting about chain plying, which I don't remember what pages this is. I read it. I just
82 to 91.
82 to 91. So, yes, Q loves chain plying.
I do. I am a huge fan.
Yep. I will use chain plying when I can, but it is not my go-to. I prefer a 2-ply.
It's not. It isn't everybody's go-to, for starters, because chain plying creates a 3-ply yarn, and that's not everybody's bag. Although if you spin heavy cobweb, then chain plying your heavy cobweb is not going to get you a super heavy yarn, but it is going to get you a heavier yarn than a 2-ply would do, assuming that both of your plies and a 2-ply are the same weight, which we are, for the record, assuming. That's one thing about a chain ply, is that unless you're spinning a really texturally irregular yarn, like you're trying for thick and thin, or you're just not paying any attention, so it sort of becomes a thick and thin, chain ply, you're plying the same weight of singles all the way through, which is, kind of fun. I love chain plying. I do, legit.
I have chain plied some of those sample skeins, the demo skeins that I have
Yes.
that people work on, which is really fun because then you end up with these really funky art yarns because the weights vary so drastically
Oh, I
from
hadn't thought
super
about that.
duper
That's
thin
cool. Yep.
to really, really thick and underspun. So that's really fun. All right.
Yep.
Well, you want to demo some chain plying for us today?
Sure. Can't do it on a wheel for a lot of reasons, one of which is that I haven't yet figured out how to hold a wheel up so everybody can see it on camera and also spin on it because, I don't think gravity is my friend there. I'm working on that.
We're going to work with the Nano on that. Okay, guys. We'll work on that.
We're going to work on something. But yes, I do. I'm going to show you some chain plied yarns. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to show you, I'm going to do a little bit of chaining on camera. With a big, thick commercial yarn, just to sort of show you how that works. Because essentially what you're doing with chain plying is you are making a loop in the leader on your spinning wheel. I think that the way Sarah Anderson does it is she actually ties the loop on. I usually just make a loop at the end of my singles and put that through the loop on my leader and use it that way. So you're making a loop to start with, and then you are hand chaining, just as you might do if you were hand chaining as a crocheter, which is something that crocheters sometimes do, especially when they're working with a really bulky yarn, like a super bulky yarn. So I have here what I think would qualify as a super bulky yarn. And I'm going to sort of toss this off here. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what this looks like. So once you have, I'm tying a slip knot here just to give myself the initial loop. Obviously, this is not attached to a machine. When I tried attaching it to one of the cats, and that was a bad experiment. So we're just going to hold it up in midair right here. So I've tied my initial loop. This is the loop that you would have through your leader. So if you put it through your leader, your loop would be coming out. Your leader loop would be here, and your loop would be coming out. And then you are just going to pull the yarn through the loop, and then pull the yarn through the next loop, and pull the yarn.
So essentially, you're making a crochet chain.
You are
and I
making
will say that this technique is also known as Navajo plying, which I am. We don't know why it's called that. There's no evidence to why that is called that way.
We know nothing about
we
why
call it chain plying mostly.
Yes.
But you may hear it called Navajo plying.
Right. So we're going to call it chain plying. We're going to because that's actually a more descriptive name for it. So this is harder than it looks when you're doing it actually attached to a wheel. But for purposes of showing you the hand motion really is whatever your dominant hand is. You are reaching through the loop and you are pulling a new loop through. And you're doing that over and over and over again. And so the reason this creates a 3-ply yarn is that as you pull, here's my loop. So this is 2 plies of your 3-ply yarn. Chain plying, just plain chain plying creates a 3-ply yarn. Here's 2 of the plies, right? And then when you reach through to pull a loop out, you get a 3rd ply. So here are 2 of your plies.
Those twist together. So
right.
Can you demonstrate the twist?
Reach through to pull out your next loop, you get a 3rd ply. So this is in essence what, now these are going to twist, right? Because you're adding twist on your wheel. But in essence, these are your 3 plies. This is why this works this way. Is the two sides of the loop of the crochet chain are, if you are a crocheter, think about it this way. There are 2 loops on the top, and then there's the back loop. Those 3 loops together form the 3-ply yarn. So what you wind up with is something, let me see if I can get my hands to work well enough to twist this. This is part of the reason that I don't have anything hand spun right now, is that my fingers aren't working well enough to spin. But there you go. So that's a sort of magnified version of a 3-ply yarn made by chain plying. And you can, Sarah Anderson actually has a couple of really cool techniques that I'm dying to try that you can use. You can maximize the fact that as you're chain plying, you have this loop point by putting extra, there you go, by putting sort of extra things through the loop. If you are familiar with tail spinning, it's sort of an equivalent version of that. You are using the loop to catch an extra piece, and I'm dying to try that. She also points out that you can take a chain plied yarn, a 3-ply yarn, and chain it back on itself and make a 6-ply yarn, which I'm also now dying to try. So I have some chain plied yarns to show y'all. I often find myself chain plying in one of a couple of situations. One of them is if I have a really small amount of singles, and I would like to get it off the bobbin that it's on. I don't want it to sit there forever, but I'm not going to expand it. That happens to me a lot because I wind up doing a lot of demoing in my booth at shows of carding, and I also wind up with extra examples that I make during the carding class that I teach. And so I wind up with these sort of handfuls of random rologs and little bats that I spin up, and they're not a full 4-ounce braid, and they're not they're not intended to be a project. They're just small amounts that I'm spinning to spin off. So this is an example. This is a chain plied skein. And I have this labeled. By the way, if you are a spinner and you wish to label your skeins before you set them, I find these Tyvek labels, which you can get thousands of for not a lot of money on Amazon, work out really well. Among other things, not only can you write on them easily, as you can see, but you can actually wash them. You can set your yarn with water. You can even dye with labeled stuff. So this is the wristbands like you get at a concert or something like that. So this is a little skein of chain plied yarn that is, what is this? Let's see. It is a little mop. It was a little braid that I had left over from some of the hand dyeing that I do. And I'm going to hold this up so you can see this texture. Of course, I cannot see the texture. Hopefully, Katie, can you actually see the texture of this yarn?
If I was closer to the camera, probably. Yeah, okay. I can.
Okay. Yay! Because I'm holding it right in front of my face, so I can't see it. So the texture.
Yes, I can definitely see it.
Awesome. This is a 3-plied yarn. And that's what the texture of your chain plied yarn is going to look like. This looks a little bit like a regular 3-ply. A regular 3-ply does look a little bit different. Among other things, if you are 3-plying yarn, you are probably plying together multiple singles that were designed to be contrasting or complementary. Whereas when you are chain plying, you're plying one singles, and the variation that you're getting within that yarn is just what's in the singles. So this is an example of a small amount of fiber that I had left over after I dyed that I just spun into singles and then chain plied. Another reason I like chain plying is fast once you get the hang of it, and that's a thing I enjoy. Another reason that I like chain plying is that chain plying gives you the opportunity to take a color blocked braid and keep the colors blocked with some variation depending on how you're doing it. So, for example, this is a skein of yarn in one of my colorways, which is called Missing the Valley. And this is a colorway. Most of my colorways go from dark to light. And so this colorway goes in the braid from this darker blue over to this very light variegated gray. Now, if I just spun that as a singles and then plied it with something else, if I just spun it straight through, so I'm spinning those blocks of color and then I spun it with something else, especially if I spin it with something else that is also variegated, it's going to give me a somewhat more muted outcome. I don't really like the, some people talk about it being muddying the colors. I don't love that descriptor. What it does, though, is it makes the colors a little less clearly distinct in the final yarn. If you chain ply it, however, you have a singles that is blocks of color from start to finish. And if you chain ply it, you can actually keep those blocks of color together. So, for example, if I undo this, you can see, I think, that, let's see, there you go, that chain plying this allowed me to keep that blue to green to gray together. In other words, it allowed me to retain the colorway, the progression of the colorway, without having that progression changed or muted by whatever I'm plying it with. And the way I did that was, remember, I showed y'all, you can do the loops of various lengths. And the way you do that, the way you keep your colors blocked, if that's an effect that you want to have, is that you make your loops when you're chain plying longer or shorter. So if I make a long loop, then I can, if I'm working with a color blocked yarn, I can pull my loops out longer or shorter in order, it's a little awkward trying to do this to the camera, longer or shorter in order to maintain the color blocks. And I like to do that when I am spinning for my booth, because this is an example of what this colorway looks like spun up without having any other pieces in it. So you don't have to do that. That's just one of the useful aspects of chain plying. And it's the thing that one of the things that Sarah Anderson says is that that's one of the reasons that she chain plies, that she typically prefers a 3-ply, but that she'll chain ply when she's trying to keep the colors blocked. So I have some other examples of chain plied yarn, but those two basically make the point. Questions or thoughts, Katie? All right. So chain plying.
That was great.
Awesome. Not your only option, but I think we talked about this last week with an Andean ply. And this is also the case with chain plying. This is another technique that you can use if you only have one singles.
Yes.
And you do not have to create a center pull ball or create the plying bracelet that you use for Andean plying. You just work from the bobbin. So I like to do that. I mean, I am spoiled for choice. One of many reasons that Katie and I really like the AEW 6.1 is it comes with 6 bobbins, which is about twice the number of bobbins that most wheels, either acoustic or electric, come with. But most people don't have access to that many bobbins. And when you're traveling, you may just have the one bobbin, and you may get to the end of a spinning project and be like, all right, great, my only bobbin is full. If you have spun something that you're up for chain plying, you can chain ply right off that bobbin. Well, actually, okay, I lied. You do need the second bobbin because you have to have something to chain ply onto. But if you only have the 2, you can chain ply your singles off the bobbin that's containing them and free up that bobbin for something else. So, that's one of many things that I like about chain plying is that you can use it in a pinch, especially to clean off a bobbin, and you still wind up with a viable yarn. So that's another advantage of chain plying is that it only requires one singles.
Yes.
Yes.
That is definitely helpful because a lot of times we only buy one braid of something, or we only have a couple of ounces of something. So, and saying I want to make 4 ounces or a 4-ounce braid of something, 4-ounce skein of something doesn't always mean it's easy for us to do because we have to split that braid evenly if we're going to have just 4 ounces of anything. So
right. Now, disadvantage of chain plying, as you might imagine, if you take a singles that you have spun from a 4-ounce braid, at the end of chain plying that singles, you are still going to have 4 ounces of yarn, but it is only going to be about 1/3 the length of your original singles because you're taking a singles and making it into the same singles and making it into a 3-ply. Whereas if you take that singles and you ply it with something else, you especially if you plan for it, you should be able to come out the other end of it with a result in yarn that is long enough to do something with. Now you can do something with chain plied yarns, but you are dealing with 1/3 the length of what you started with. And if you take that, even if you're taking it and plying with itself from a plying bracelet as a 2-ply, you're still going to wind up with something that is half as long as your singles. Chain plying significantly reduces the length of the finished yarn that you're going to have to work with. So if you are making something out of chain plied yarn, you are going to need more singles. And Sarah Anderson has a whole section in this book, in the part that we read for today, that talks about making socks from both 3-ply yarn and chain plied yarn. If you need the yardage for socks, or if you're counting yardage for anything else, remember that you're going to need 3 times as much singles length as you need finished yardage. And honestly, unless you want to play yarn chicken, you're going to want a little bit more than that. Whereas if you are working with a 2-ply, that is, you're going to do those calculations a little differently. So that's a disadvantage of chain plying. Doesn't trouble me, but that's because I'm typically not spinning for a project. If you are spinning for a project, you are definitely going to want to keep an eye on that and plan for it from the beginning.
So I'm currently working on a long-term spinning project.
Ooh.
That will have multiple plies. It's an alpaca. I bought 45 ounces of a fleece.
Wow.
And it was already in roving, but it was somebody's fleece. The alpaca's name is Freckles.
Oh.
She's lovely.
Is she from Fairhaven?
Huh?
Is that from the farm where you guys stay periodically?
No, this is actually from a farm in Missouri.
Okay.
So I did get to meet said alpaca, and that's great. So I will be doing that one as a 3-ply, I think. But I was tempted to do a 6-ply. I'd like to have a sweater quantity in a worsted weight. But we all
Ooh.
know that I spin very fine yarn. So, and this alpaca isn't any different. So,
You're trying to get to worsted weight.
I have about half of it spun.
All
So
right.
into singles. I haven't applied it yet. So I will show that to you
Okay.
guys sometime. It's in the closet.
Yes, please. That would be lovely.
So
All right.
anyway, so chain plying. I will not be chain plying that mainly because it's a lot of yardage, and right now it's on like 7 bobbins.
Uh-huh.
And so because I'm trying to wait until I have enough to do whatever it is I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do,
But why
right? You're
aren't you
supposed to wait
chain
and
plying?
ply it all at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
But
know how that's
if
going.
you want to get to worsted weight and your natural spin is heavy cobweb, why wouldn't you chain ply?
Well, maybe I need to double chain ply it then. But the problem is that I still have so much yardage. So my biggest struggle with chain plying is that it's really easy to get ahead of myself, and and and
Mm-hmm.
so it'll end up tangling very quickly
Mm-hmm.
on me because I can't pull my loops fast enough.
Yep.
So if you are tackling chain plying for the first time, my biggest suggestion is to go slow.
Slow down. Yep.
Slow way down, like like slower than you would normally spin like singles, which is very light us when we're plying.
Mm-hmm.
Marlin Farm says I should ply 7 at a time. I should do a 7 ply.
Okay. I would pay to see that.
That sounds like a nightmare and a half, but all right. We'll see how it goes. I have 7 or 8 bobbins done, so I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so it's just you have to go a lot slower than you think you need to because you need to make sure you're actually pulling the loop evenly
Yep.
and like giving yourself even tension on that twist because
Mm-hmm.
it spins faster than you think it's going to.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so a lot of my chain ply, like my finished chain ply, is a little overspun in
Mm-hmm.
general or over plied, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost it's got a very heavy grist. So
Mm-hmm.
like it's very dense for what it looks like,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep
Yep.
that in mind that that's something that can affect how heavy your yarn appears or
Mm-hmm.
how it actually works up, how heavy it works up. So
Yep. How heavy it
just
actually
this is
is. Yeah.
a very real um, thing that happens to your yarn. So
Also, if
Q,
you're
do you want to
planning,
define grist?
yep. No, go ahead.
No.
That's what I'm still wrapping my head around.
So grist is basically the amount of fiber in a certain amount of yardage.
Okay.
So, and actually how heavy and dense it is. So, like, a lot of times when we look at um, commercial yarns they're very light. They feel very light
Mm-hmm.
compared to hand spuns because we're
Mm-hmm.
putting more fiber into the actual twist
Oh,
than they're getting in the commercial spuns. They have more air in there, and I'm not
okay.
sure how that works. I'm not sure how they make that happen, but
Yeah, probably an effect of the commercial spinning apparatus.
yes, something
You
to
know.
that effect. So
Yeah.
you know,
Interesting.
we're not doing very
And
good on the heavier weights at the moment here. The
another thing to
fat
mention
singles are
about
not going out.
chain plying
Huh?
is chain plying. I want to mention one other thing about chain plying. Chain plying is not as easy if you are working with a really twisty singles. I tend to
Mm.
overspin my singles, and which is a habit I have from the period of my spinning life thus far, when I was mostly doing 2 and 3 ply yarns without chain plying them, when I was plying multiple singles together. And when you are spinning, when you're plying together more than one yarn, the process usually gives you an opportunity to pause and kind of coax out some of the over twist if you have some. the chain
Mhm.
plying process, in my experience now, and what Katie and I are talking about when we're talking about this stuff is what we know and what we've experienced. We are again not the fiber police, and there are going to be other experiences and answers that are just as valid. But in my experience, chain plying does not give me that same opportunity. So if I'm working with a really over twisted singles, the bumps that creates in the singles, the over twisted parts, are going to be retained in the finished chain plied yarn. Does not necessarily mean that they're going to twist that yarn. Often they do not, but texturally they'll still be there. So, and that's something I had to learn by doing it. I had to do it enough times and be like, all right, this is just not giving me the time that plying 2 or more yarns together gives me to kind of ease that over twist out. So, it's a thing to think about if you feel like it when you are spinning. If you're spinning it when you're at the point of spinning your singles, if you are a planner, one of the things that you may wish to consider is, how do I want to ply this together? Do I want to chain ply it? Do I want to ply it with another yarn or a commercial yarn or a thread or whatever, and to govern the amount of twist you put in your singles accordingly. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Marlin Farms Fiber Farm, which is a mill, she says that she thinks there's a machine that blows air in as well. I don't know how, she doesn't have one, but she thinks there is one that is available. That would help lower the amount of grist, or the number that it would be producing. And like I said, that's like yardage per pound, essentially, is what that is. Grist yardage per pound.
And by Marie Nance says, by the way, Marie Nance says that she's found that it's easier for her to ply on her chain ply on a treadle wheel rather than to chain ply on an e-spinner. And I can see that, because there's a point at which when you turn an e-spinner down, it just stops. Even if it
doesn't have the same pull. Yeah,
exactly. And this is a place where I can see an acoustic wheel actually being easier to slow down to a reasonable point on, especially if you remember to put on one of your larger whorls if you are working with a wheel that has multiple whorls, because you do, when you're spinning that slow, you do want to do that. So that makes sense. It may not be everybody's experience, but I thought I would share that because it's been Anne by Marie Knit's experience. And I interrupted you. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I don't know what I was talking about anyway. It's fine.
Oh, excellent. Go me.
All right. Well, so what is our book chapter for next week?
Our next bit, let's see, I'm finding it. We've just done chain plying. Oh, our next thing is going to be what Sarah Anderson calls hawser plying, which terrifies me a little bit, and a 2-color technique. So this should be interesting.
Oh, that's worth it's like a 3-ply, isn't it?
Yep. Well, let's see. Named after a type of rope construction, hawsers usually have a minimum of 4 plies. So that should be interesting. And the 2-color technique is a hawser variation. So for next week, it's a short period in the book. It's 92 to 95. But it's definitely going to be involving more plies. So that should be fun. And then I think we are at the point where we're going to start into the sort of technique by technique section of the book. Because I think that finishes up the plying part. Yep. Then we go back to what she calls standalone singles.
So apparently we ply hawser plying. Okay, this is gonna be a new one for us. So I think Q and I are gonna be pulling out the wheels and actually doing some spinning.
Doing a little practice. Gonna make my fingers bend enough to make that happen. I'm looking forward to that. Be a good experience. So hawser plying. I don't know. So that's what we're doing next week. Please come and join us. Feel free to spin along. The book, again, is The Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs by Sarah Anderson. It is available. I think you can probably get it in Kindle. Katie and I both have it in hard copy, and it's available at various booksellers. I have seen it in some LYSs. So if you have an LYS, your local yarn store has a good book section. Definitely check there. I do know for a fact that US Amazon has it, because that's where I got my copy quite a while ago. One note that it is interesting to me, and I can't remember if we've mentioned this. The book is about 10 years old, which doesn't make any difference to the quality of the information in it, except that 10 years ago, e-spinners were much, much less readily available. There were a few out there. Hanson, most notably, but not very many. And Sarah Anderson appears, I don't know this for a fact because we haven't been all the way through the book, but all the introductory material, she's talking about and spinning on acoustic wheels. So I think there are probably some places like we talked about tonight with M by Marie Nitz saying that the treadle wheel works for chain plying for them better than the e-spinner. I think we may find places where the e-spinner experience is different. Maybe better, maybe worse, but just different. So we'll try to flag those as we go when we come across them. But I did just want to mention that that's the one thing about this book. I wish that she'd, issue a revision and say, here's what this is like with e-spinners.
Yeah, you can also chain ply on a drop spindle.
I will take your word for that.
I have seen people do it.
Okay. I believe it.
I have not done it. Yep. I'm going to let that out there. I have not done that. But I know that you can. I have seen people do it. So.
Okay. Good to know. There's not a lot. I mean, for someone who's really serious about their drop spinning, I'm sure there are things you can't do, but there are drop spindles are amazingly, creative and functional and flexible tools. The fact that I have almost no skills where drop spindles are concerned does not make me not admire the fact that they can be used to make an incredible variety of beautiful yarns. So if that's your jam, awesome. Get jam on and join us anyway.
All right. Well, until next week at 7, we will be seeing you then. If you're around, Yarn Adventure Truck will be alive tomorrow at 7 p.m. here on all the platforms. Feel free to join us. We'll be recapping our week in New Mexico and Arizona. Awesome. On Saturday, we're going to be at a yarn store in Phoenix called the Yarnmonger. You can come and see us there. We'll also be down on next Tuesday. We'll be in Ruidoso, New Mexico with a yarn group down there. So come and say hi if you're in the area. We'd love to meet you. So,
and in 2.5 weeks, Yarn Adventure Truck and Fold Out Cat will both be at the Oxford Fiber Festival in Oxford, Mississippi. So if you are anywhere proximate to there, it is really a fairly quick drive from a number of places, including most of Mississippi, chunks of Alabama, which is where I live, and Memphis. And we do have people come from a really wide area around there to come and take classes and shop the marketplace. And Katie and I are both teaching.
Speaking of classes,
we are.
I'm teaching something. I'm teaching e-spinning, and I'm teaching something else.
All right.
Think about it for a second.
Mending.
I'm teaching mending.
There we go.
I'm teaching so many mending classes, guys. Excellent. I have like 5 of them in the next 3 weeks.
Well, I wish you many ripped pieces of clothing to practice on.
I mended Dean's socks last night. Can you stick them in here? Dean.
What?
Can you show your foot over here? Show your foot
I can't wait.
Show your
That's
foot. I want to show your sock.
The other appendage.
All right.
Oh, very nice. Look at that. Wow. I am so impressed by that. Mending socks, not easy.
You're just going to turn it around. Why did I put my foot?
I still wouldn't have been able to see it. Okay. Now that you all have seen that, thank you. We're going to go now. Bye, friends.
We're going to go. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you for coming.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, bye. I'm still thinking. Maybe. And